It's Jonathan Schrager, and I'm joined today by my friend but also boxing promoter James Lindemann, director of Lindemann Sports Entertainment Limited, who's on the cusp of promoting his first show actually on the 18th of June in Event City, the Trafford Centre. First of all, James, we're sat here in my local pub. How are we doing, my friend, and how are you feeling just weeks out from the event?
All right. I'm going to get my voice back actually after a weekend at Wembley and going through the emotions of what my football team puts me through, which was on this occasion a positive ending. But yeah, how am I feeling? I'm excited. I think it's taken a long time to get to this point, so that's certainly something that's I'm pleased about. We've actually done a bit of a journey to get to a boxing promoter. I see what we're going to be doing is something a bit different, hopefully. We're fortunate we've got 5 good fights, some named fighters, so I'm really proud of that. The fact being given certainly support from the boxing community, headlined by 2 great fighters, Marcus Morrison, who's just come off the back of obviously his WBC international win on the undercard of Anthony's great win against Barossa. Callum Johnson, Commonwealth gold medalist, who really, I believe, wants to push on now in his career. And these are guys from the renowned gym not far from me. I mean, Gallagher's, what Joe's doing in Manchester, and Bolton, should I say, and he's continuing to do, is phenomenal for British sport. So for being given as a young promoter in the industry the chance, and I've built some good relationships with the Gallagher's gym anyway from prior to becoming a promoter, on the commercial work I've done and some other work I've done with Anthony. But to be given 2 of his fighters on my show is really, I'm something really pleased about, and I think the fans who don't get often the chance sometimes to maybe go to the arena and see, maybe at the time of day for whatever reason, maybe that Marcus has previously been on the undercard earlier in the evening on some of Eddie's shows, to get to headline the show and showcase him and Callum and him will showcase both their skills at prime time, shall we say, is good for everyone.
Absolutely, and before we obviously move on to talk about the show specifically, and it's looking very impressive obviously what you put together, just a little bit about yourself and your backstory and your evolution, I suppose, within boxing from someone who helped to arrange events and someone who did commercial stuff with fighters themselves to now actually being a promoter. I mean, I know your backstory and it will make a chapter in your book one day, but just briefly elaborate on how you got into boxing and how you've arrived at this stage.
I've always been a boxing fan. I said before, I mean, football's always been the biggest passion, and certainly I would say if someone wants to question me on football, I'd probably go much further than I would on boxing detailed knowledge. I hold my hands up to that, but I was always a big fan of the super fights. I used to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and watch those. I came back to Bruno Witherspoon at Wembley, Tyson, Holyfield, everything. I certainly don't just about remember Hagler Leonard at 87, but I remember the buzzer as a 12-year-old of Hagler Leonard at Caesars Palace, the outdoor arena. And so I love boxing as a sport, big sporting events. Yeah. But my knowledge, being open and honest, my knowledge of, I would say, British level was something that I didn't have, and wouldn't have been as interested in at the time. I went to America as a fan, more than anything. I went to see Mayweather Madonna in May 2014, where Madonna certainly gave him a good test, Floyd coming through as he normally does, and just got to meet some influential characters and people within the industry, and kept in touch with these people for a few consecutive months, going out to visit them and networking, if you call it, I think, but with the ability to network and have the chance to network at close quarters because of the association with these people that are involved in world boxing. And from there, got a call from Paulie Malignaggi, who wanted to come to Manchester to watch football, big obviously with his European heritage, likes his soccer, and was able to put in touch with Steve Wood, who I didn't know at the time, and was very, very good to me, and said, yeah, I'll put some fighters on for you on a professional basis. I had an idea of a night, and we put on a night at the Hilton in Manchester called Vegas Fight Night Comes to Manchester, which was what I'd seen in Vegas, which was under one roof. If you don't like your boxing, there is something for everyone to enjoy. But Steve, who I got to build a relationship with, we promoted that night. He got some credibility, I believe. It got some, more important, some exposure in the press. Even Ringside gave it some coverage, which was great. And you build your relationships with people in the industry. And this is a small family. Sometimes you stand on people's feet in this family, and that's something that I'm mindful of and have been mindful of. From there, I was able to work closely with Steve, with Josh Warrington. Became his an agent for him, doing quite a bit of commercial work, certainly through the Tuberon and Brunker fights. And again, you meet more people. Did Anthony Crolla's world title after parties, both in July when the disgraceful draw, or certainly the harsh draw for Anthony, and then back in November when he won the world title, which was a great night. We did that again for him, our company. But in between that, I was approached by a young fighter who I'd met through the renowned Manchester Champs Camp, Ensley Bingham, and I got introduced to a young fighter called Sam Hyde, cruiserweight Sam Nowhere to Hide, who's unbeaten at the moment, 8 wins, 1 draw. And he'd fallen out with his management team and was looking for a new business management team to really take him forward. And we decided, certainly someone young in the industry, a young fighter with prospects, an opportunity, and maybe potentially, I believe, a full package with Sam, with a good following as well, very good following from Sale. And I saw, so we signed him up, our company, under business management and working closely with Champs Camp. And I saw that Sam had a good following. He was not only knocking people out pretty quickly, it was the fact that he was taking a lot of fans from Sale to Middleton on Pat Barrett shows, or we did a show with Lee Beard, a dinner show. But Pat was very, very supportive and helpful for me by allowing Sam to be on his card. And excuse me, we pre-Christmas we had arranged for Sam to headline a fight at Middleton in March, where he'd fight for his first challenge belt title, international challenge belt title. And I decided at Christmas that I'd like to promote Sam without even realising where I would go, maybe with other fighters or anybody else, but Sam Hyde, and build him up. And I backed my ability to do that. That was my thoughts. So I applied to the British Boxing Board of Control and was able and successful to gain my promotion licence in February. So from there, the idea was we'd build Sam up. Sam unfortunately currently has an injury. He's out of action for about 3 months. I'm fortunate enough to have good relationships with some corporates, and I'm really proud to say that Sam Hyde has just been signed up by JD Sports, which is no bigger retailer and sports media to supporting boxing, which is what we need in the industry. They're really putting their weight behind boxing on a number of levels. Obviously on the big matchroom shows we see JD, but for Sam to have that, certainly it's great for him. They're going to be doing a lot with him moving forward. The injuries put a bit of a halt on that, obviously. He's just out for 3 months. But at the same time, we've just come back from the States recently at the Canelo fight, and he has the opportunity through the negotiations we've talked through with Golden Boy to be on a Golden Boy undercard potentially in the autumn. So we're just trying to sort that out and finish that off. So that's really exciting on the management side, really. The idea came, well, I still want to do a show, even with Sam being injured. And that's brought us to Madison Square Comes to Manchester at Event City.
Absolutely, and I suppose that neatly segues now onto the event itself. It was a nice little summary there of how we've got to this point, and we'll talk a little bit about Sam and future aspirations, but just purely now talking about the show on the 18th of June. Just talk us through a little bit. I know obviously from my conversations with you away from the camera that you have a lot of ideas in terms of innovations and how you want to bring excitement to boxing for not necessarily just the hardcore fan, but also so that you can cater to maybe more the casual fan, but just bring something unique to boxing. Can you just talk a little bit about the flavour of the event?
Yeah, I mean, I don't say that it'd be wrong of me to say that, first of all, as a boxing fan, the level I feel I am now, and I watch every fight there is now because I've got more interested. There's a lot of excitement in boxing. I think we're at the boom. Certain promoters have added to that and been assisted by that through the help of Sky, obviously. Other channels, they're certainly taking much more interest, and money's going into the industry, which is fantastic. But you go to a lot of shows, and there are still, and the great thing is you see a lot of women, you see more children, but not everybody there is there just to see the boxing. They're on a night out, and some of the shows you see, I talk about matchroom shows, the good shows, the very strong shows. It's a great night out. It's excitement, it's fun, but there are other small hall shows that it's very catering just for the boxing. I'm thinking to myself at the moment where our company is, we, as I said, are not managing fighters. We have a business management relationship with Sam, but from a promoter's point of view, my ideas is to bring entertainment and boxing combined. So Madison Square comes to Manchester. Well, it gives away in the title. Madison Square is a New York themed night of professional boxing. Event City's actually got a history of boxing. It's where Tyson, for 5 or 6 years, or 5, 6 years ago, should I say, was certainly growing his following and his name. He's certainly building up his reputation by fighting at Event City. And they haven't fought. We're the first promoter to bring back professional boxing for the last 5 years. And the great thing there is you can orientate and structure the building to what you want it to be. We're creating a purpose-built arena to be like Madison Square Garden. So we've got 4 tiers, floor, and a ring. But outside of that, we've got a lot more going on, and we've got entertainment after, pre and post. New York themed, lots of things going on. Yes, I've invited a number of people from who I know within sport and entertainment, so people from your day to day who can go mingle and rub shoulders and take a photo, because why not? That's what people don't often have the opportunity to do. So we've got great lighting, great pyrotechnics, so a real show for the audience, and hopefully, I mean, tickets have gone well so far. I think the buzz is happening. More and more media channels and outlets, should I say, are picking up on it. Just released our first promo video, which we're really pleased about. So yeah, it's I would say certainly a show as well as a boxing 5 boxing fights.
And can you and can you specify as well, aside from the boxing, for those, like you say, that it's not, I mean, obviously there's some great boxing at the event, but it's not just boxing centric. There's other elements. Could you elaborate on the elements, and also the kind of the other people you mentioned there, maybe some luminaries from the world of sport and entertainment that might be there? We know Anthony's going to be turning up.
I should say, first of all, Anthony Crolla is our special guest. I think he deserved, after his last performance against Barossa, to be given a bit of a platform where Manchester can again congratulate an outstanding achievement against a phenomenal fighter with a track record such as that Barossa did have. So for Anthony to come, we're going to do like an interactive Q&A with the audience.
Brilliant.
Where people can get close. You can win a trip to New York. We're my partner in this event is Greater Sport, who is Manchester City Council's amateur sporting association. So we're going to give some money back to grassroots sport, which is good and important. We've got a pre-drinks reception for our sponsors, for certain ticket holders, DJs playing, magician street perform, New York street performers. Don't want to give too much away, I want to have a few secrets, a few surprises. But then afterwards as well, we've got interactive things going on in our Supermade club. So we have an after party as well, because sponsors like that, people in Manchester sometimes can't get in after going to boxing. They struggle all in one crowd to get into somewhere. So here the unique situation is you're all not going to get to, one person's not going to, the night's not going to be ruined because of one person not having the right shoes. So the fact is that everybody can be under one roof and continue their entertainment, similar to what you see in the hotels, big hotels in Vegas.
So when you're in, you're in. When you're in.
You're in. Unless you're causing issues, you're definitely staying in. Your name's on the list, you can come in, type of thing.
Brilliant! It sounds brilliant. Sounds very exciting. And then just obviously for the boxing purists as well. Moving on to the actual fights on the card, you've alluded to the talents that are going to be on display, but just a little bit more background on the actual fighters.
Yeah, we've got, I've said Marcus and Callum, known probably to most boxing fans. Adam Haig. I've built a good relationship with Matthew Hatton, who's been really supportive. So Matthew's got two lads. He's got three lads. Two lads on it. Adam Haig, I think, is 7-0. I think he's a super lightweight. And certainly another young lad making 3 or 4 fights. Robert Huff, who's another light heavy. Got a really good following, Robert. And he's coming in from Stockport, Ashton, Hyde area.
Right.
And then just waiting for the board to give the go-ahead, but it looks like it's all happening. Is a young guy called Ryan Oliver, who's a welterweight, who is the assistant trainer, has been the assistant trainer at Steve Bell's gym in Altrincham, South Manchester. And Steve Bell had a good pedigree, good history, fought on a number of Hatton undercards, set up his own gym with Ryan as the trainer, and he's got about 250 tickets already. He brings some of the celebrity people. I think he trains half those Cheshire housewives. Right. So I think they're in attendance, which will be fun. Yeah. We'll see what kind of dressing competition those two, or hopefully they might be kicked out because they argue all the time, those housewives, don't they? But if anybody, I know that certainly Ryan, as long as he gets his licence, which he's just going through at the moment, he will be on the card. Which is good for someone, because I know that I'm very close to that camp anyway, because I live in Altrincham myself.
Yeah, and as well, before we kind of move on to your future aspirations within boxing as a promoter, I know you as a character. I know you like to hobnob with the stars as such. You mentioned there that the Cheshire housewives. Can we maybe expect? We know Anthony's going to be there. There's a strong Manchester flavour as well. You're a big red. Is there going to be maybe a couple of United players, or I don't know, a couple of Coronation Street stars who I believe are at the last event as well?
We can't have Manny that night. We have Manny from the Stone Roses at the last gig. He made it right. He actually raffled himself off on the last night, where he could go out on a night out with Manny, which raised about £3,000 for charity, which was very good. We haven't got the Stone Roses there because they're playing at Eastons. Maybe they'll come for the after party. I'll get Manny down later on, but I think the goal scorer of the cup final is going to be there, Jesse Lingard. I was speaking to him on Saturday.
Not Jason Punchin.
No, not Jason Punchin. He didn't score the winning goal, Jonathan. Although with Mr. Pardew's dance, he would have thought he did. But no, I think I've got a couple. Obviously, it's European Championships as well. Yeah. I think certainly Eddie's alluded to it in a number of interviews. So Frank, I think everybody's juggling shows at the moment around the European Championships. Certainly, I looked at my show that night. I think it's Albania versus Italy, so we're not too bad. Right. And unless there's a few Albanian supporters wanting to come around, they might come around afterwards. So there's no home nations playing on that night. So you're not going to be missing too much football if you are wanting to come to the show.
Right, fantastic. And then before we kind of end up talking about the show, just a little bit about, you've referenced there, Sam, the work you hope to do with him in boxing in the coming months and years. Just a little bit about beyond this event. This is your inaugural promoted event, certainly. What are your aspirations thereafter? As you mentioned before, boxing is in a boom here in Britain. You're probably hoping to capitalise on that and put on some great shows. Yeah,
I think so. I mean, at the moment you realise how much effort and time, or do people realise how much effort and time goes into a show? When you've got the infrastructure, it's easier. It's certainly not easy, and I can imagine the bigger promoters, they have the same issues relatively. We're looking at doing, certainly on the success of this, please God, or hopefully this show is success, we can move forward into the autumn. A bigger show where we like Event City, we think, or we certainly like what we see at Event City, and we believe with the infrastructure and the technical capabilities that we can bring there and use there, we can build on this show and certainly bring Manchester on the northwest a Saturday night out which incorporates boxing. Yeah. Hopefully, as our company grows its name in industry, more boxers of all levels will contact, and we can build relationships with those. Who knows? I mean, we're very, as I said, to get the chance to have Callum and Marcus on our first show, who have been a number of times on bigger and more exposed shows, then you never know who we can bring in. I back myself to bring in someone from America, maybe. So the contacts we've got, you never know. But I mean, certainly, on a serious note, it's about growing the reputation. I think I'm not even looking any further at the moment because I want to deliver this.
Yes.
And I'd be wrong to. Am I thinking of the future? Have I got anything penciled for the future? No, I haven't, because this first event's so important to be delivered. I think I've got my promoter's license. I've got to my paymasters are on this occasion the British Boxing Board of Control, because it's a serious event. As the one at Goodison Park on Sunday, or the one at the Echo the following week.
Yeah.
It's a professional event, and I want to make sure that my event is delivered to the highest standards it can be.
Well, James, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for the time, and obviously I would urge anyone in and around Manchester and beyond to get there on the 18th. It's going to be a cracking night. It's poised to be a great event, not just for the boxing, but the extracurricular activities as well. James, any parting words for people for the 18th?
Buy your tickets. You can get your tickets www.ticketline.co.uk. 08, I think it's 0844 888 991. So there's tickets still available. Tiered seating, plenty of food on offer, that New York style food, drink, and some good boxing, and we'll have a good night.
Fantastic. Looking forward to the night, and obviously to see what you achieve beyond that as well. Thanks for the time.
Thanks, John. I appreciate it.